Well, guys, I'm going to do a little bit of preventative maintenance and plain maintenance on the Typhon here. I got a few different things that are kind of acting weird on this car. The steering servo, no matter what I do, I have the trim turned the whole way to the right, and it's still trying to track left. So I'm not sure if I have the servos off adjusted, if something happened to the servo saver. Nothing's bent or anything weird like that, so I'm not sure what's going on yet. So I'm going to pull the servo off and take a look at that. Also, as you can see, a normal Arrma thing, the run rear shock started leaking on it. So I'm going to pull it out and clean it and put some new oil in it. On the last video where I headed to the skate park, I thought the only thing I had broke was the one tie rod, but actually, as you can see, the frame split halfway. So I'm going to run it for a while like this, but at some point I'm going to have to change a frame out. I have a frame on order right now. I'm down at the local hobby shop, but unfortunately they're not open due to the coronavirus situation, so I can't get the part. But we'll run it like this and see how long she holds up. And yeah, I used the drill with the old 2mm bit in it to tear everything apart. When I put it back together, I usually try to just get everything pretty close, almost tight, and then use the hand driver at that point so that you don't strip and rip everything apart. There it goes. So I'm going to turn the car on here for a second and see where the servo normals, and set everything back to 0 and see that being all the way supposedly center. It definitely still doesn't look center. And if I turn it all the way back to 0, it is pretty far, you can see, not center anymore. So I'm going to center this back up and give it a try, see how it goes. Alright, we'll see how it likes that. Now, the next tooth over, it's slightly shifted to the right, but in this case, I might actually work better since I'm not having to track it so far to the right in the controller. So we're going to give this setting a try, and hopefully I don't have to have it maxed to one side, because even like that, it still wasn't tracking straight. So see what happens. All right, we're going to get this bottom screw in and give it a try again. All right, guys, well, I got her all back together. Got the servo adjusted, so we'll take it outside here and give it a quick test and see how far or on it is now. Alright, so I got the controller set at 0 with the steering, and we'll see which way she tracks now. Hopefully not too much of any direction. I feel like it's just very slightly to the right. Alright, so I have the steering now tracked 5 points to the left, and she seems to be pretty good now. And that at least gives me a lot of leeway still either direction to be able to adjust it, rather than having it maxed all the way to the right. So I think that was, I'd call that fixed. I'm happy with that. And I broke another one of these rubber clip holders. These things are so nice, but they don't last real long. They end up tearing apart. You know, these holes on these things are a tiny bit too small. You know, I have the 1/8 scale buggy or Arrma clips, and then there's the 1/10 scale. And I have been just replacing the 1/10 scale out with the 1/8 scale. They slide on so much easier. I know they're not as heavy duty, but on this car, you know, whenever it lands on its top, majority of the times you're not hitting the clips or really bending them up anyway. So I've been putting the 1/8 scale back on them with the new rubber retainer. They're just far easier to get on and off of these cars. So to find the retainers. Oh. Good as new. Alright, well now I'm going to adjust this back shock that started leaking. A lot of times there's not even a lot you can do with them. It's just a hereditary thing with all the Arrmas, man. All of the shocks will end up leaking after a while when you beat on them pretty good. But it's good to pull them apart, clean them out, get all the dirt out from around the seals, and change them out with oil. I got some of this TLR Losi. I think this is the 50. Where does it say? Yeah. 50 weight shock oil I've been running in pretty much all my cars. It seems to work pretty good, so that's what I'll refill this one with again. Pretty grimy. Alright, so if you've never taken these apart, they're pretty easy. Bring down the tension off the spring, unscrew the red cap, and then all of it will just slide off. There is this little spring cap, I guess. You can see it has a little ridge in there. That needs to go on top on first. Then your spring comes out, and now you have that. I'm going to clean this thing up real good before I pull it apart here. I'm going to go outside and spray it with some brake cleaner, clean it up a bit. Alright, well, I got it cleaned up here a bit. Most of the grime and oil and stuff's off of it. Then to get the shocks apart, you want to compress it the whole way, and you'll feel it locks in there. And you can just turn it regular counterclockwise, and the barrel will unthread here. Pretty long threads on it. And then just keep a hold of the threaded part and slowly pull up on it. But I don't know if you could see it on there, probably not. But it is most of the way empty on oil. I'm gonna dump this old stuff out, clean it out, clean down the gaskets on this thing real quick, and put her back together. Got everything all cleaned up here, everything dirt-free, and got the old oil out of it. You know, I really wish Arrma would do something about these shocks. You know, they actually have a really nice shock. They work really well. They're very tough, but they leak, and I just wish that they could cure that problem in them. Either use better O-rings, gaskets, whatever it is that's causing it. I wish they'd do something about that, because they would have a great shock just with a stock vehicle. It's amazing how nice these shocks work, but they just require a little more maintenance with tearing them apart and cleaning them and refilling the oil on a regular basis. But I'm going to fill this thing back up the rest of the way. In there, you'll see about where the threads end. When you look down inside the tubes here, you want to get the shock oil right about to the top of those threads. If you get it any higher than that, as soon as you start screwing this in, it will blow it out the little vent hole, and you waste some of your shock oil. I might even have this one overfilled a little bit, but what I always do is run this the whole way down, get it in there a little bit, and on the Arrma shocks, there's this little slot here that will allow for the extra oil to blow out through when you're bleeding them out. But as you'll see, if I have it overfilled, there it goes. It just starts to come out that little vent. And you just work the shock a couple times and then lock it back in that little notch and screw it down the whole way. You're gonna have a little bit of overfill, but that's all right. Better to make sure that it's filled the whole way. That's pretty much it though. Now it feels nice and smooth, and you can feel the dampening the whole way to the end of the travel now that it's filled back with shock oil again. You'll notice when your shocks start getting low on oil, there'll be resistance, and then all of a sudden it'll kind of just drop in a lot quicker. And that when you know that the oil's getting low, or you need to fill them up and check them. But now I'm gonna put them back together the rest of the way, and I get them back on the car. All right, so you just put them back together in reverse order how you took it apart. Get your spring on there. Get the little shock top piece on there first. Your big spacer. Any of the extra spacers you've added. I've just added one of the thick ones. Seem to work pretty good. Put your cap back on. And that's it. Oh, I feel so much better now. So I'm going to get this back on the car now and get ready for the next skate park or BMX track adventure. Not sure how long it'll last the next time out with the frame halfway broken. I would normally just change the frame out at this point. But being that I can't get a frame and Amazon doesn't have any, local hobby shops are closed at the moment, so that's not really an option. But yeah, I'll wait till it breaks, and hopefully by then all the craziness with this coronavirus thing is over and things start getting somewhat back to normal. Well, I've decided to do all the shocks. I did the other rear already, and I just pulled the fronts off. Figured if the back ones are lost oil, then probably the front ones have. And they started feeling kind of spongy, and you can see right there, this one is low on oil. I don't know if you can really see it, but it drops in without really any resistance until right there. So this one's probably really low on shock oil. This one is the exact same way. So I'm going to pull these apart, clean them up, and refill them with the 50 weight and get them back on the car. One down, one more to go. I should add one note in here about when you fill these shocks up. The fronts, you do the exact same thing as you did with the back. But whenever you put this in here and start screwing the cap back down, and once you tighten it up the whole way, if you start to feel the shock shaft, the end here starting to push back up by itself when you have it the whole way down, it means there's too much pressure in there. And you need to bleed some of that oil off. And how you do that is tighten it to where it just starts to stop, crank it up about, I don't know, the thickness of a pencil lead, and then run the shock up and down a few times. And you can see a little more oil coming out the top. It gets rid of that extra pressure in there. Not sure if I'm explaining it the best way, but you shouldn't have the shock wanting to push itself out without the spring on there. And if you have that happening, then you got too much oil and too much pressure in there. So just thought I would add that. And once you have it that way, just tighten her down and see it. That's how it's supposed to be. If you have too much oil in there, start to try and creep its way back out, then that's what you don't want. So figured I'd let you know. All right, guys. Well, got all the shocks back on it now, and it feels so much better. I wasn't even noticing how bad the shocks really felt until rebuilding them here and getting new oil in them, getting everything cleaned out. But it feels a lot better now. So, all ready to go for the next bash day. Hopefully soon. I might be heading out tomorrow. I'm going to try out this new place if I can get down there and it's not closed, because it is a park type place and so many things are closed right now. So we'll see. If not, maybe I'll head down to something local and have a little fun. But hope any of this information helped you, and everyone have a great day. Be safe, and don't forget to wash your hands. Peace out.